This committee substitutes focuses on one lever of a larger tax structure. The focus is on the issue of progressivity. This lever is a part of the tax system that will be used to start the specific discussion about Alaska's production system or production tax system overall. Before discussing the details of the committee substitute beyond what has already been done, I think it's important to discuss the other levers that have not been addressed in this committee substitute that are preserved, which provide a competitive advantage to Alaska. Alaska has a low royalty rate, approximately 12.5% to 16%. This is a smaller or lower royalty than such jurisdictions as Texas or North Dakota. The royalty component is one part of the total load on any production that remains unchanged. Alaska continues with its competitive advantage with respect to capital expenditures made in the state of Alaska. Under the tax structure, there is a 100% deduction in the year spent for every qualified capital expenditure made in the state of Alaska. And in addition to that 100% qualified capital expenditure deduction, there is a 20% credit for that same dollar that goes to the bottom line. That is a reward to investors that invest in capital infrastructure in Alaska. It reduces its tax load, and it reduces also, obviously, the monies to the state of Alaska. But it does make Alaska attractive. Another lever not changed is the risk which Alaska takes as to geologic risk. It has been identified that Alaska is one of the top or the most attractive places in the world in this aspect of its fiscal system. Another lever that establishes Alaska as an attractive location is royalty relief. If a project can be proven to be non-economic but needs some help, the form of royalty relief is available, and that is not changed. One of the comments which I have heard and which I believe, is that progressivity at high oil pricing needs to be looked at. As I have said, how one defines high oil pricing was to be the subject of both economic and political discussion. While oil prices are currently in the $120 range, we should not assume that this is stable, is the floor, or a ceiling. We know that over time, oil prices change. Looking back at even the last 10 years of oil pricing, we know that the current oil pricing is near the top of a wide range of oil prices. Another issue which must be considered as to progressivity is the amount in return that Alaska receives on the billions of dollars that it has made in investments through its credits that are in the capital expenditures on the Central North Slope. Those numbers will, through the next fiscal year, approach $5 billion. The total load on industry must not ignore, however, the financial upside to Alaska through Alaska's direct participation in the long-term success of resource development. In that regard, it must always be remembered that Alaskans are the resource owners, and Alaskans should never forget that. Alaska has a world-class resource, and this resource will be extracted for many, many decades to come. Alaskans do welcome responsible development. The committee substitute provides visible benchmarks for a discussion on progressivity and the amendments that potentially affect our production tax system. I would continue to expect that as elected officials, we uphold our fiduciary duty to the people of Alaska in our discussions and in our decisions. Many times I have used the phrase sophisticated owners. Alaskans expect that we will approach this topic as a sophisticated owner of a world-class resource. This topic is a big math problem that does need to be looked at. The committee substitute will be modeled and probed and analyzed as it should be. I intend upon keeping an open mind so that I can forthrightly consider the amendments that will be debated. The goal here is to get it right. Again, turning now to the CS, I believe it's very clear that we are changing a couple of components of the production tax system, and we will be hearing discussions as to potential other changes with respect to our production tax system. The information contained in the committee substitute is consistent with information that we have received from professionals who have advised us in the last several weeks. As to the committee substitute itself, I believe it's important to understand that the members of the Senate Resources Committee and the Bipartisan Working Group as a larger group have been informed as to the contents and the amendment process. And today we will begin with the amendment process, and we will start, we're joined again by Senator McGuire, and so we will, Senator, you are on the board with your competitive review board, but if, hold on 1 minute, we'll take a brief ad.